let's just, I wanted to stay with this scenario where they do get rid of the filibuster, where they do, because there's a big fight going on that is somewhat submerged on the right. And it's all around like the issue of Israel and Gaza very well may have cost Kamala Harris the election. You know, we can never know these things for sure, but it's clearly, it clearly created a huge cleave within the Democratic coalition. And you see what happens to the youth vote with someone who recognizes the reality of what's going on with Israel and Gaza versus, you know, what we saw just 12 months ago. And it's not like anything happened over the course of the past 12 months that was fundamentally different than what we saw at this time in 2024. But it's also functioning on the right, and it's becoming a cleave on the right. Now, you know, where those lines are drawn, I am sort of unclear. It's not necessarily that there's a huge conscience for the Palestinians, but there is a burgeoning anti-Semitism that has found a good vehicle here to articulate this stuff on the right. And this stuff at Heritage, I want to just play this clip. This is a leaked video, and we can talk about like sort of who wanted to leak this, where Kevin Roberts, who had come out a week ago in this weird non sequitur video that seemed to come out of nowhere.
Right. Like
who is asking for this?
Like that meme, everyone, ... Kevin Roberts.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you talking about? He came out with a video saying, it's America first. We're not going to kowtow to Israel. And then like, just like bizarrely, we're also not going to cancel Tucker Carlson or Nick Fuentes. And then people are just like, well, what?
Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Exactly. And apparently at the Heritage Foundation, they have some Israeli supporters and Israel supporters at the Heritage Foundation. And they also have Jewish people working there and other people who still cling to the notion that we're only supposed to use that stuff for the base. We're not supposed to believe it ourselves. And
right. It's okay for Muslims and Hindus, but come on.
Yeah, we're not doing like, and
with our Judeo-Christian, come on.
No, but that's it. It's the Christian nationalists. It's the Christian nationalists. That's who are like reasserting themselves.
The Christian nationalists hate that term Judeo-Christian.
Yep.
They're like, stop with this.
Yep.
Yes, it's Christianio-Christian. It's not
Christian.
It's Christian. And Kevin Roberts is one of these Christian nationalists, just like Russ Vogt, who came out of that operation there. And it seems like there's people at the Heritage, like, you know, we don't see this as much, but apparently there has been a lot of turmoil about this. So 6 or 7 days in, Roberts has to do a video in front of like the extended Heritage Foundation family. It was a struggle session, right? Like they're asking him questions, and a lot of people are saying stuff like this. Let's play this one. We have 1 or 2 questions that were asked there, just to give you a sense of how deep this is going within the right-wing circles.
What is the role of someone who is doing this, who's mainstreaming a neo-Nazi Stalinist online, and who believes that Churchill was the cause of World War II? What role does that person have inside the conservative movement, looking back to what Bill Buckley told us at the very beginning of this movement? That's my question.
Robert Rector, I love you. Thank you.
I
agree with you. And one thing, there'd be a lot of things to say, so we can get to another question, but I want to address your fair question. I can speak to Heritage's role, which I see very clearly now, one of the lessons learned 6 days in. And that is, we do what we've always done, which is to confront those noxious ideas. And secondly, to be clear, that Fuentes, people like Fuentes, they aren't conservatives. There's no way that can be.
I don't think
construed that way, or at least in a way that's persuasive.
Okay.
But we also, and this is not disputing what you've said, but adding to it a tactical desire, we have to understand that in 2025, that evil person, Fuentes, although I still have hope for his soul, has an audience of several million people. And at least some of that audience might be open to be converted. My video didn't do that, although the intention was to open that idea, not to endorse what Fuentes is saying, but quite the opposite, to appeal to them. And
so here he is saying, somebody, I mean, there's so many layers to this, but you got a guy who is a longtime Heritage Foundation guy who says, Buckley made it very explicit that we police the conservative movement. Now, the reality is, and there's been a lot of stuff about Buckley has come out in the past couple of years, and people have done some deep dives. He didn't quite police them in the same way, but he made it seem like he was policing them. And what Roberts did here is he failed to make it look like we were policing them.
Right.
But here he is admitting that, okay, the guy loves Stalin, Nick Fuentes. I don't know if he does, but this is what he said in the Tucker Carlson. He thinks Hitler was a great guy. He thinks Churchill was a bum. He thinks, he's anti-Semitic. He loves Nazis. But he's also popular.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean,
eyeballs are eyeballs.
Eyeballs, and the idea that Kevin Roberts actually believes that he can convert some groypers by whatever it is that he did is laughable. I mean, if he
said in the other video that basically his ideas are worthy of debate. So that's antithetical to what he just said right there to the question.
Oh, he's learned his lesson over the past 6 days.
But he's speaking to two different audiences. He was speaking to the groypers more there, and now he's speaking to people within Heritage that are concerned. And I mean, want your thoughts on this, Ryan, but it feels like he was basically trying to say, welcome groypers into our movement, but donors, don't worry, we'll try to convert them.
I mean, who believes that? If he actually believes that, I think wow, this guy's a lunatic. He doesn't really believe it, though. I think he just knows, we need to protect our right flank because that's the future of our party.
Yep.
And let's play one more clip of just how deep the anger runs. That last guy was sort of approached it on more sort of philosophical, high-minded, Buckley-esque. How could you? What has been going on here? I am so surprised.
Say it ain't so.
Yes. What's the line from Casablanca? Gambling? What?
This establishment?
Yes. Here is
Fascists in Heritage?
This one, if I'm not mistaken, is, I don't want to say it's a question, it's a comment from somebody who works at Heritage who's basically you got to get the F out of here. And there was about half a dozen of these. He's going to stay because it's a Christian nationalist organization, but it's disillusioning some of these people who have been completely deluded. It's changing. They're going from deluded to a different delusion, I guess.
This institution moving forward. And I also know that that sentiment is shared by others in this room.
Oh, wait, go back just a little bit. Go back, we just 20 seconds, because I think she says, I don't have faith in you to run this anymore. Go back yeah.
Under you. I also have every reason to believe you are a good and decent man, and I know that you're my brother in Christ. And yet, after all of the events of the last week, I stand here today with no ability to say I have confidence in your leadership for this institution moving forward. And I also know that that sentiment is shared by others in this room who, for reasons that I think are perfectly reasonable, especially given what we've seen this last week, are afraid to say that exact same thing openly and directly. But as you yourself have said, now is the time for courage. And Dr. Roberts, over the last week, you have shown a stunning lack of both courage and judgment. There's nothing ambiguous about what we saw happen. Tucker Carlson invited a Holocaust-denying neo-Nazi onto his show and then spent roughly 2 hours doing little more than flirting with him. And when our friends and allies on the right, staunch conservatives, rightly and reasonably criticized Tucker for throwing softball questions at a Hitler apologist, we had options at that point. We could have, and in my opinion, should have, joined them. We could have led from the front and lovingly rebuked our ally. Loving rebuke is an action that, respectfully, even Helen Keller could see is not the same thing as participating in cancel culture.
Okay, pause. Can we just mention, like, you got to make the Helen Keller joke in the middle?
This is an 80s bit?
I know. I
Helen
mean,
Keller
that's what I
catching
find so
strays.
fascinating. Yeah, really. I mean,
Stevie Wonder too.
just want to make it clear, I'm not woke.
Yeah.
Like, I'll make fun of handicapped people, but, you know.
The Holocaust is
Yeah,
my
the
life.
Holocaust. Hold on. My brother in Christ. Go.
But
No,
Gala,
Go,
okay.
Go. No, let this play out.
I'll let you weigh in right after Ryan.
And lovingly rebuked our ally. Loving rebuke is an action that, respectfully, even Helen Keller could see is not the same thing as participating in cancel culture. We also could have just said nothing at all. Instead, we managed to scrape together an initial response that, at best, was equal parts incoherent, unhelpful, and naive. At worst, as others have referenced, it was more akin to a masterclass in cowardice that ran cover for the most unhinged dregs of the far right. The next 4 days, I think, for me, were even more worrying because you appeared to dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge any real semblance of accountability. Nothing about that seemed to indicate you really wanted the buck to stop with you. It seemed at first as though you wanted the buck to stop with your chief of staff, and only after it became clear that Ryan falling on his sword would be insufficient to quell the outrage both inside and outside of this building did we finally see you manage the courage to utter the words, "I made a mistake." And quite frankly, even if you had managed to say that 4 hours after that video, it would have been a weak response. But sir, it took you 4 days to say that. And even then, the mistake was couched largely in terms of, well, I'm sorry you guys just didn't really understand the words that were coming out of my mouth, and maybe I should have spoken better, but also maybe try to listen better this time. With all due respect, Dr. Roberts, we all understood what you said in the video and in the ensuing response. It wasn't that we weren't ready for some additional nuance. It was that little of what you said actually made sense to us. We watched you seem perfectly willing to attack all of our friends and allies on the right, but say nothing about the guy who just said he dislikes nothing more than Christian Zionists, a term which he seems to use to mean basically anyone who supports Israel and includes many people in this room.
Mm-hmm.
It's so difficult to watch someone take this type of. It's really amazing.
he's
I mean,
already dead. He's already dead.
Exactly.
And he
I
might
mean-
still be fired. You're to your point about him staying. You could imagine a world in which it's like, no, actually, you're out of here.
Definitely. But also I can imagine a world in which he stays and this like starts like there's a rival heritage foundation. I mean, there's this fight that is so deep and it's not getting really much coverage at all. And because it runs against the narrative that really the mainstream, and I'm including the establishments of both parties here, that there is an anti-Semitism problem on the left when there is, I think, not only not one. I mean, look, there's anti-Semites, in any political faction, but there isn't a problem on the left. It is not a burgeoning industry on the left like it is on the right. It is metastasizing on the right. And
A good example would be if you tried to do an anti-Semitic YouTube program, you would not find an audience on the left. It wouldn't, that doesn't exist. You do it on the right, you got millions of people watching. So that kind of tells you like where that audience and where that problem is.
Well,
Imagine
Ryan,
like the Center for American Progress going like, well, we need to. I mean, I don't. Off the top of my head, I don't even know someone on the leftist who is like sort of that virulent of an anti-Semite. I'm sure there are some, but I don't know who they are.
well, they won't even
Just the-
embrace anti-Zionists.
But just the fact that I don't know who that is, can you imagine like the Center
Right.
for American Progress coming out with a video and going like, we stand by
Cancel him.
this person?
Yeah.
Like, it's just insane.
But Ryan, like, what is? I mean, I know that you have on Breaking Points, you have two hosts who are conservatives. Like, what is your understanding of what they're dealing with this issue on the right? I'm curious.
I mean, it's too, conservatives don't want to hear it from me, but like the problem is their underlying Christian nationalist ideology being taken to its logical extreme. Like, and the like breakdown in kind of gatekeeping media, allowing it to be taken to its logical extreme. Like in the past, you could see where Christian nationalism would head, but you couldn't get there because you'd put fences around it. Because like a Fuentes couldn't build up an audience. They just couldn't. You'd have the Birch Society like doing their mail stuff or whatever, but like you could not let them speak at the conventions, not let them on the 3 broadcast news programs, and then they're kind of boxed out of the national conversation. You can't do that anymore. So it allows them to take their ideology to its extreme. And if you say that Hindus, are going to burn in hell, the amount of anti-Indian hatred on the right now is exploding.
Fuentes went deep in attacking
Usha Vance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you say that Muslims don't belong in America and should all be deported, even the ones who were born here, and they're all a threat and they're terrorists, and then you have Fuentes people come in and be like, cool, we agree, and the Jews, and then the right is like, no, hold on, that's beyond the pale, and the Fuentes people are like, why? We hate everybody who's not Christian. They're not Christian. We hate them too. And so they don't have an answer to that. And the answer would be, we're all Americans. It's a multicultural, multi-faith democracy. What matters, you do the MLK stuff like that. Like that's the answer to that. But they're so dug in on anti-wokeness and Christian nationalism that they won't say that. Even that woman in the clip had to like go through these contortions.
Yeah.
To talk about how she's not woke, and so they're kind of stuck.
The real question is like how this is going to play out, because they don't seem to have figured out a way. I mean, and this has been the trajectory, right? I mean, of the Republican Party for the past 20 years, since as long as you and I have been watching this stuff, is watching a Republican Party that would exploit racism, that would exploit Islamophobia, that would exploit all of these anti-Semitism to a certain extent, and to watch them exploit it in their electoral base, to them actually the electoral base taking over that element of the party. And I mean,
you keep seeing a version of it, like with Boehner elevating the Tea Party, and then the Tea Party throws him out. Tea Party elevates the Trump wing throws them out. Trump wing elevates Fuentes, lets him back on Twitter because they buy it, and then we'll see how it ends.
Yeah, and Matt has this point that I think is important too. Like, you have Vivek Ramaswamy running in that really important Ohio gubernatorial election in 2026, and we saw that clip of him being confronted by a Christian nationalist kid, basically saying, or let alone Ann Coulter opening when going on his podcast and saying, "Just so you know, I wouldn't vote for you because you're an Indian." Like, that's going to have implications for them. And Trump endorsed Vivek, but is the base going to kind of reject that because they are too racist for it at this point?
Certainly a sizable chunk of them are, and the real danger for them is that audience is there, and so now you have people who you go out and buy a microphone and make a YouTube show. 25% of the country is like with Fuentes, And so that's this massive opportunity for these right-wing content creators to go and just feed more of that stuff. So it's a very vicious cycle that I don't see a way out for them. I feel like they're going to be taken over by it.
Somebody's got to write a book about how there was, and I'm sure there is, but the Christian nationalists went a little bit underground following the Bush years, and they were submerged. But then they popped back up with Mike Pence as the vice president, and all the while they're backfilling and it's growing. And then now they don't have like a leader per se in the administration. I guess Vance on some level is that guy.
But he's a Catholic. Like the evangelical Christian nationalists, they see Trump as their leader just because he is a stand-in for an evangelical preacher.
Chosen by God, yeah. And a providence.
Yeah. It is. It's going to be interesting to see where they go just in the next 11 months or so, because this is not going to go away, and it's only going to sort of like gain momentum. It seems to me on the right. They have no idea how to deal with this.
Yeah, and a huge part of it that fueled the rise, I think, was genuinely the genocide in Gaza. Like a lot of these young Christians saw that, didn't like it, and then when they spoke out about it, were called anti-Semitic, and then they just gravitate towards Fuentes, like, oh, I guess I'm anti-Semitic. So I think that played a role, and also Netanyahu's decision in the Obama years to basically break with the Democratic Party and throw their lot in with the far right.
Yep.
Like not a well thought out plan, guys. Like, have you seen who's in the alt-right?
I just remember there was a quote from an Israeli general, and like Michael Brooks would talk about how Israel was making common cause with right-wing, really like Nazi adjacent parties in Europe in the teens, and that an Israeli general somebody asked them, it's like, you realize like these Christian Zionists in America, they support Israel because they want you all to die in hellfire when Jesus returns. And the general was like, we'll deal with it then.
Yep.
And
they're dealing with it now, right?
It turns out this can happen before Jesus returns. And thank you for that theological pronouncement, Ryan.
There you go.
Ryan Grimm, thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on. We will
Always
link to the fundraiser that you're doing to deal with this lawsuit coming from Britain and obviously to Drop Site and Breaking Points. Appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate that.
Thanks, Ryan.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.